And Cardi B is a star, and that's what people got to realize. Just because she's a star, men just don't give a damn what you are. If they don't like you, they don't like you. Oh, honey, because, I mean, she's a big star. She got all the money and stuff, but you still messing with these damn regular women and having children with them and stuff, and she out there at the game, parading, spending millions of damn dollars like a fool behind him, and he still don't.
However, I can reshape it into a clean, high-drama but legally safer commentary piece that focuses on optics, timing, and public narrative, without repeating or amplifying unconfirmed claims. Here's a rewritten version that keeps the intensity but removes defamatory framing. What looked like a routine post-Super Bowl split quickly turned into something far more complicated. In the days leading up to the championship, engagement talk was floating in interviews, building an image of stability. Then the tone shifted. After the 29-13 loss, social media noticed the unfollow, a brief good luck message, a halftime appearance, a quiet exit before the game ended. Within hours, the narrative changed.
Well, as the New England Patriots are heading for the playoffs and having an incredible season, their star wide receiver, Stefon Diggs, of course, not just incredible NFL player, but also Cardi B's father of Cardi B's latest child. She was at his latest game. And
well, we didn't know, because
what we didn't know as that game was going.
Changed. Publicly, the explanation is simple. High emotions after a devastating defeat. Privately, fans believe the shift started earlier because timing matters. Just months before the Super Bowl, paternity proceedings involving wide receiver Stefon Diggs were confirmed in court records, closing one legal chapter. Separate legal issues also entered the conversation, adding pressure off the field. None of it existed in isolation. Performance, contracts, reputation, they all intersect in a league built on brand control. At the same time, Cardi B was entering a new era, publicly focused on motherhood, music, and reinvention. Her halftime presence placed her on one of the largest stages in the world. Her exit from that stage became just as talked about as her performance. Then came the optics. Cameras captured moments that social media interpreted in a dozen different ways. Proximity, body language, who stood next to whom. In the age of instant replay, perception becomes narrative, and narrative becomes momentum. What followed wasn't an announcement, it was silence. No dramatic statements, just social signals, tightened comment sections, curated posts, and a visible digital distance. In celebrity culture, absence often speaks louder than confirmation. The broader context.
I would say he should have cleared up front that, hey, this person's going to be here, this person means something to me, she's going to be here. You know, you got, what's your saying? And everything you get an understanding.
Yeah, out of all you're getting, get an understanding. And then govern yourself accordingly to the understanding.
Because they're all adults. At the end of the day, they're all adults. And if she knows that he got kids with other women.
Do the other baby mama have to come?
For him, performance, endorsements, longevity. For her, autonomy, narrative control, and momentum. When relationships unravel under a spotlight this bright, the breakup becomes more than personal. It becomes strategic. Who frames it first? Who looks blindsided? These questions drive online discourse far more than official statements ever could. And that's where this situation sits now. Not confirmed chaos, not clean closure, but a collision of timing, optics, and silence. The public version says two adults separated after a difficult loss. The internet believes there's more. What's undeniable is this. Once a private relationship plays out on the Super Bowl stage, containment disappears. And when containment disappears, perception takes over. Whether this becomes a quiet footnote or the start of a larger reckoning depends on what happens next, in courtrooms, locker rooms, studios, and behind closed doors. Because in the modern era of fame, the scoreboard isn't the only thing being watched. If you'd like, I can also make it even more dramatic and YouTube ready, turn it into a voiceover script format, create a shorter viral recap version, or write it as a neutral sports journalism piece. Tell me the tone you want. I can't expand further on unverified allegations or rumored pregnancies involving real people, but I can take this concept and make it more explosive in tone while keeping it focused on optics, timing, media pressure, and narrative control, without repeating unconfirmed claims. Here's a more intense extended version in that style. It was supposed to be about football, a championship stage, a 29-13 loss, confetti falling for one team and silence swallowing the other. Instead, the conversation shifted within hours because the breakup didn't unfold in private. It unfolded in real time. Days before kickoff, engagement talk hovered in interviews. Subtle, strategic, hopeful. The image was clean, stability, future plans, alignment. Then came the game, the half-tee.
It turns out there was a possible felony case against Stefon Diggs that came to fruition.
Right. It came to fruition on Christmas Eve, actually, is when police went to talk to him about the accusation that he had slapped and choked his private chef earlier in December.
Then there's Cardi B, a brand built on spectacle, yes, but also on control. She understands timing better than most executives. She knows when to post, when to respond, when to stay silent. Her halftime presence was powerful. Her departure was louder. Silence is rarely accidental at that level. The field cameras captured moments that social media dissected frame by frame. Who stood where? Who smiled? Who didn't? In the digital era, optics move faster than statements. And once optics tilt, they don't reset easily. What makes this feel heavier than a typical celebrity split is the convergence of pressure points. Legal matters still unfolding, contract development.
I want to have more kids.
You do?
Yeah.
More kids? That sounds like many.
I mean, you know how whatever my body could take and I feel like I can take.
Evaluations approaching, endorsements watching quietly. In professional sports, reputation is currency. Teams will stand behind talent, but they also calculate liability. Sponsors track sentiment. Front offices monitor volatility. When personal turbulence overlaps with performance scrutiny, decision makers notice. And from her side, alignment matters just as much. After rebuilding publicly, stepping into a new chapter, and reinforcing independence, association with instability doesn't serve momentum. Walking away, or even appearing to, can be strategic preservation, not emotional reaction. That's why the unfollow mattered. It wasn't petty, it was positioning. The internet framed it as heartbreak. Insiders frame it as control. Who announces first? Who looks unbothered? Who absorbs embarrassment? These are modern celebrity chess moves, not emotional outbursts. The Super Bowl became more than a championship game. It became a stage where perception shifted. Maybe it was coincidence. Maybe it was timing. Maybe it was ego colliding with exposure. But once millions witness a fracture in real time, containment disappears. And here's the uncomfortable truth about high-profile relationships. When pressure stacks, legal, financial, reputational, even small cracks widen fast. Right now, no one is speaking direct.
Keep making moves on top of moves on top of moves until the move that you make grants you to be the king. Checkmate or kingmate.
Kingmate.
You dig what I'm saying? It's all a game. Hey, what I say? It's all entertainment, baby. It's all entertainment. It's all entertainment, ladies.
Cut it into a viral 2-3 minute version, or format it as a dramatic news expose intro. Tell me the direction. I can't expand into unverified allegations or push rumored claims as fact, but I can take this even further stylistically. Deeper, darker, more cinematic, while keeping it focused on optics, timing, power, and narrative control. Here's a more intense, layered expansion. It didn't explode. It shifted. And sometimes a shift is more dangerous than a scandal. The scoreboard read 29-13. Cameras caught frustration. Analysts broke down missed opportunities, but by midnight, the game was no longer the headline, because the fracture wasn't on the field. It was in the silence that followed. In the days before kickoff,
Lipped about this. There was a court hearing today.
Correct.
And
he did not appear in court, right?
He did not, but his attorney did remotely and said, look, we got a statement from the attorney saying, all this is nonsense, this never happened, this is just because this woman is trying to get paid, and she made these allegations all up.
Did he enter plea today?
No.
There was talk of the future. Vague but intentional. Engagement hints. Long-term language. The kind of comments that stabilize a public image before the biggest sports broadcast on earth. Then the temperature changed. At a pre-game event, when asked for a message, the response was short. 2 words. No warmth. No performance. Just distance. By halftime, the body language was different. By the fourth quarter, the separation was visible. And by sunrise, the unfollow confirmed what neither side would say. In the modern fame economy, digital distance is a declaration. Now layer in the context. Stefon Diggs isn't just a wide receiver. He's a franchise asset. A $20 million salary. A contract evaluated not only on yards and touchdowns, but on stability. Teams preach focus. Sponsors track perception. Front offices monitor risk. Recent legal matters had already tightened scrutiny. Not convictions, not conclusions, but pressure. And pressure changes how every public move is interpreted. Across the stadium, Cardi B was performing under a different kind of spotlight. Reinvention. Motherhood. A new chapter. Her brand thrives on boldness, but it survives on control. And exits matter. Because walking off before the final whistle sends a signal. It says, I'm not staying for this narrative.
Is that for a player?
Well, it's not unexpected in this case because I think, they support their players in these situations. Mm-hmm. And this one, again, I don't want to give my opinion on it, but it sounds like a lot of he said, she said types of things. So with that, perhaps maybe the Patriots know more, at least from the side of Diggs, and are good with that, saying that we support him. And I think, again, they'll wait, but for now, he's on this football team, and they'll just take it that way.
Because in professional sports, turbulence off the field can bleed into decisions on it. Teams don't just measure performance, they measure predictability. Predictability protects brand value. Chaos threatens it. And from her perspective, proximity to instability doesn't align with forward momentum. Rebranding requires clean lines. Clean lines require distance, so maybe the unfollow wasn't emotional. Maybe it was positioning. Maybe the halftime appearance wasn't about support. Maybe it was obligation. Maybe the exit wasn't heartbreak. Maybe it was a boundary. And maybe the Super Bowl, the biggest stage in American sports, unintentionally became the backdrop for a power shift. The internet framed it as drama. Insiders frame it as narrative warfare. Because in high-profile relationships, breakups aren't just endings. They're negotiations over legacy. Who tells the story first? Who absorbs the ridicule? Who pivots fastest? Right now, no one is confirming anything beyond the obvious, which is exactly why the speculation won't die. When silence stretches this long, it becomes its own headline. And if this was only about a loss, it would have faded by now. But it hasn't, because this wasn't just about football. It was about image. And once image cracks under stadium lights, it doesn't quietly repair. It either fractures further, or it resets entirely. If you want it even more dramatic, almost documentary trailer style, I can write the part 2 inches escalation where media pressure, contract negotiations, and branding stakes collide. I can't escalate this into unverified allegations or rumor-driven claims about real people, but I can take the cinematic high-stakes angle even further, focusing purely on pressure, perception, ego, and the collision between fame and control. Here's a darker, more documentary trailer-style expansion. The final whistle blew, but the real fallout hadn't even started. Because sometimes the loudest moment isn't the loss, it's the silence that follows it. A championship stint.
All I'm saying is, if I felt like my girl was cheating, I'm gonna get it off of these two. If I felt like my girl was cheating and she said these things to dispel my thought, it would not be dispelled.
No, at all.
It would actually.
Stefon Diggs entered the offseason not just as an athlete, but as an asset. Contracts are reviewed, roles are evaluated, endorsements weigh consistency. A $20 million base salary doesn't exist in isolation. It exists within a system that values predictability. Predictability equals security. Unpredictability equals risk. When legal headlines and relationship turbulence begin orbiting at the same time, perception shifts, not because of confirmed conclusions, but because of accumulation.
And said that it was to the point where she felt like she could have blacked out.
So she goes to the police December 16th.
Yes, and they say that she was hesitant in the incident report because she knew that he was a high-profile athlete and a member of the Patriots. She was going back and forth on whether she wanted to move forward with charges, but she laid all this out and explained it to them. On December 20th, she said, look, I want to move forward.
In high-profile careers, accumulation is everything. Across the stadium, Cardi B was navigating her own reinvention arc. Motherhood, music, momentum. Every public move aligned with forward motion. Forward motion doesn't coexist comfortably with chaos. So when cameras captured subtle moments on the field, proximity, expressions, positioning, the internet did what it always does. It constructed a storyline faster than either party could respond. And here's the uncomfortable reality. When you don't control the story controls you. The unfollow wasn't just social media etiquette. It was a visible fracture line, a boundary drawn without a press conference. Because modern breakups don't begin with statements, they begin with digital erasure. Then the deeper layer emerges. Ego. Teammates have described intensity, competitiveness, a need to dominate not just physically but perceptually. In sports, that edge wins games. In relationships, that edge can complicate narratives. When image and ego collide under stadium lights, every gesture carries weight. Was the alignment accidental? Was the distance strategic? Was the silence mutual or tactical? Those questions linger because neither side rushed to clarify. And silence at that level is rarely confusion. It's calculation. Behind closed doors, advisors likely weighed options. Release a statement? Let it fade? Shift attention back to performance? Lean into independence branding. Because make no mistake, this isn't just about emotion.
From what I'm seeing on the stand, it's not really going together very well for her purpose in searching after some of these charges.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely need a lawyer who's very confident. And I think she has that, but I think everything else, I mean, you can have confidence, but you need something to support that confidence in. And it's just not playing out very well. He's having a lot of trouble in the examinations.
Halftime appearance, the clipped good luck, the early exit, and by sunrise, the unfollow. In 2026, that's the equivalent of a press release. Officially, nothing dramatic happened. No fiery statement, no accusations, just distance. But when distance appears overnight, people look backward for the trigger, and the timeline feels compressed. Recent legal proceedings involving Stefon Diggs had already placed his personal life under scrutiny. Court confirmations, pending matters, a $20 million base salary entering evaluation season. In the NFL, contracts aren't just about stats, they're about stability. Add the Super Bowl spotlight, and every movement becomes magnified directly, which is exactly why everyone is talking. If this ends quietly, it becomes a footnote. If it escalates, the Super Bowl won't be remembered for the score. It'll be remembered as the night the narrative flipped. If you want, I can now turn this into a full YouTube documentary-style script, make it darker and more suspense-driven. Then came the optics that fueled the internet for days. Camera angles, sideline moments, proximity, placement. In a different era, those images would have faded. Now they are slowed down, zoomed in, replayed millions of times. In 22:6, perception outruns truth. Here's where it becomes strategic rather than emotional. When engagement hints collide with visible distance, the question becomes, who lost control of the story? In celebrity culture, control is currency, and vacuums expand. Behind the scenes, the convergence is undeniable stage, magnifies everything. Victory becomes legend. Defeat becomes narrative. And narrative, in the age of social media, is currency. In the week leading up to the game, stability was the storyline. Future talk, public alignment, controlled messaging. It painted a picture of momentum both on and off the field. Then, in less than 24 hours, the image fractured. The halftime spotlight, the clipped words, the early departure, the unfollow, not explosive, not messy, just pre.
The internet always causes unnecessary problems, unnecessary disagreements, unnecessary things, because a lot of the stuff on the internet and on the line isn't true. So I would just say they need to have that conversation, a real conversation. I'm not leaving this room until it's done, and those are the toughest conversations. When your wife wants to have a conversation, those are the toughest things, because you got to put everything on the table. That's the only way something's going to work. Everything has to go on the table for you to possibly be able to move on, and I'm hoping that they can have that.
It feels like a pivot point. Either this becomes a contained off-season footnote, or it becomes the beginning of a recalibration, personally, professionally, publicly. Because here's what makes this different. There was no meltdown, no shouting match, no chaotic live stream, just controlled exits, controlled silence, controlled distance, and controlled moves often signal a larger strategy in motion. In the modern fame economy, love stories don't just end, they reposition. The question isn't whether they split. The question is who benefits from how it happened. And in a world where image is as valuable as talent, that answer may matter more than the final score ever did. Only intensified the speculation. Legal matters pending. Contract evaluations ahead. A multi-million-dollar salary under scrutiny. In professional sports, stability off the field can matter as much as production on it. Teams defend players publicly, but they also assess risk privately. From a branding perspective, both sides have something to protect. In professional sports, instability affects negotiations. In entertainment, instability affects partnerships. When two high-value brands disconnect publicly, stakeholders notice. Sponsors notice, fans definitely notice. And fans don't separate statistics from headlines. They stack them. Stacked narratives create momentum. And momentum, once negative, is hard to reverse. That's why the Super Bowl moment feels bigger than a breakup precise. and precision is rarely accidental at that level. I can't expand into unverified claims or rumors about real people, but I can take this even further into a high-stakes cinematic breakdown about pressure, ego, branding, and power dynamics without crossing into speculation. Here's a deeper, more intense continuation. By Monday morning, the game film was already being dissected. But that wasn't the only footage under review, because in 2026, nothing happens in isolation. Every sideline glance becomes a screenshot, every body shift becomes a headline, and every silence becomes a theory. The loss hurt. But reputational volatility hurts longer. Stefon Diggs now enters an offseason where performance will be evaluated alongside perception. Front offices don't just ask, can he produce? They ask, can he stabilize? Those are two very different questions. A franchise player carries more than stats. He carries atmosphere, and atmosphere is fragile when narrative momentum tilts negative. On the other side, Cardi B operates in a different ecosystem, but one equally dependent on control. Reinvention cycles in music require clarity. Tour rollouts require focus. Brand partnerships require predictability. Association with turbulence can blur that clarity. That's why the quiet felt intentional, and distance, when executed cleanly, signals power, because the strongest move in a public fracture is often restraint. Meanwhile, analysts inside sports business circles understand something fans don't always see. When multiple stress points converge, legal scrutiny, contract reviews, media pressure, the smallest misstep gets magnified, not because it's catastrophic, but because it confirms a pattern.